What is going on YouTube? N60 Fortress here, I'm back. Thanks for tuning in again as always, it's very much appreciated. What we're going to go through on this video is my best ever CEX haul and CEX roulette as well. This is a retrospective video, so this pickup was 2023, around June time, so nearly, well, pretty much a year and a half ago now, pushing 2 years. And the reason why I thought I'd do this video is for a couple of reasons really. One, it's just interesting content. Two, it's sort of just a document from my own reference point because memories fade and all that. And CEX seems to get a lot of stick, doesn't it really? And quite rightly so in some cases. You know, the quality condition of some games that they seem to bring in, stuff like that, particularly when it comes to boxed cardboard, Nintendo 64 in my case, which I collect, or other Super Nintendo, Game Boy, whatever. It tends to get a lot of criticism for some of the substandard boxes you tend to see, but this is like some of the good times that you see good stuff, and I feel like it's worth mentioning really. And I'd like to say that this is all fact, there's no fiction in here, none of this is made up. I've got no reason to lie, I've got no reason to fabricate this. This is a true story, so take it or leave it if you want to believe it or not. But yeah, so these games were purchased at a time with or without manual. So going back and screenshotting the purchases from back then, they all default to without manual, because I think when they brought in with manual, they created a new category, and everything that had sold prior to that is classed as without manual. But of course, they all came with manual, otherwise I wouldn't have bought them. But yeah, sort of the backstory behind this then. Back then, I was still on my journey to complete my full set, and CEX was quite a resourceful place. And back then, me and my mate, who was also on a full set journey, we'd routinely refresh CEX app throughout the day to see what stock had come in. And there was a little hacker, I'm not sure if it still works now because I'm a bit out of touch with how CEX app works, but the hack used to be that if you add something to your favourites and refresh your favourites, something that comes in stock would show on there a good 15 minutes before if you just randomly search for the game on the website. That was a little hack. I suppose everyone knows it and passes that information on, but yeah, it's just one of those things really. But it was a useful piece of information to know, and so we just refresh our favourites. And yeah, on one day I looked, there was a Base Hunter 64 that had come into stock, and I went to click on it. I was about to check out and it had gone, like someone had beaten me to it. And I'm pretty sure this person's a known reseller in the community actually. They buy something and then they end up putting it on their eBay channel, if not on one of the groups. And I'm pretty convinced they either sat there refreshing all day, or I even think they might be using some sort of smart technology or software to be getting stock alerts ahead of everyone else, because they always seem to get there before anyone else on a lot of games. Like, I'm not just talking about N64, they buy and resell across all sorts of platforms. And it's quite disheartening really, the amount of people I've seen miss out on stuff because this person's just bought it to resell and stuff. It's quite disheartening. But yeah, so a Base Hunter came in stock, and I saw that it had come into stock, but I couldn't buy it, it'd gone. And one of my friends who was really into CEX, he used to monitor like what stock certain stores had. And because I got there quick enough to see what store that was in, because even when someone purchases it, it stays on the website as out of stock, but you could see what store it was in. And because I was there quick enough to see what store it was in, we managed to identify that it was in a store called Newtown Abbey, I think. And I think that's in Northern Ireland. I'll have to double check that, but I think it's in Northern Ireland. And so the next port of call is to see, okay, well, what else have they got in stock? And they had probably about 25 games, I want to say, in stock. It's not overly uncommon for a store to have that many games in stock, but it's certainly not typical either. And I spoke to my friend and he said, no, they didn't have that many in stock, like yesterday. And so reading between the lines, you can say, okay, well, they've had a big influx of stock. So we looked at what else they had, and the rest of the games were pretty common games. There's nothing as rare as Base Hunter 64. And so, okay, I was like, okay, look, they've got Hydro Thunder, there's one in stock, so I'll buy that. And he bought several common games to make sure that he got them all from that store. 2 days go by, and this pops up. Hydro Thunder. I'll put some overlay of all my games on as I talk about them. And it's absolutely minty condition. And we was like, wow. We spoke to the chap who'd won the the base hunter, and we know who it was because there's only one person who refreshes that much to beat anyone to it, and he confessed that it was really good condition as well. And the games that my mate ordered were all really nice as well, all 3 of them. So we basically just went back and we literally decided who was taking what, and we filled our boots. And I ended up buying, after this, another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I bought another 9 games. I think he had probably 5, 6, 7, but because it was me who sort of uncovered this place, you know, we agreed that, you know, I should probably get my fair share, and they picked some games that they wanted. I was quite fair, you know, we share what was found. So yeah, I was already really happy with this, and then we essentially took a punt on what else there was, and we cleaned out the rest of the stock. By the time we finished, there was nothing left in stock. Now the interesting thing was they had 2 Banjo-Kazooies in stock and 2 Legends of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and so I bought both of those games, but I wasn't sure if I bought one whether they'd send me the apparent mint one if what was traded in was to be as mint as what we just received, or if they'd send me the one that was already in stock before they had that trade in. So to avoid taking the risk, I ordered both copies of Banjo-Kazooie and both copies of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Now lo and behold, when the games came, the second copy of each of those were pretty battered, so they got returned, and I ended up looking through the rest, and everything else was equally as immaculate for both me and for my mate who'd ordered his games. Now I'll put a picture of his games on now so you can see the quality of what he bought, and obviously he was super happy, super grateful for me tipping him off. And you know, it's a bit of teamwork really, because I wouldn't have known about the magnitude of the trade-in if he didn't tell me what they had previously, i.e. they only had a couple of games in stock prior to me informing him. But similarly, he wouldn't have known that stock had the rare game in, and therefore had conviction that what they had was really good. The other thing is that it's an absolute miracle that when these were traded in, the staff didn't like take them for themselves, because I suppose that's a pretty normal thing to happen really. And the other thing is that obviously I purchased Hydro Thunder, and then that sent tracked 48, so that takes 48 hours to get to me. But nobody bought the rest of these games in the 48 hours that it took for that to reach me, which is absolutely madness. If these are on the shelf or behind the till, wherever they are, how have these not been bought? So let's get into them then. So this is the Banjo-Kazooie, absolutely mint as well. All of these were perfectly complete with all contents you'll see on overlay. Has the cartridge baggie, absolutely fabulous condition, all of these. And there was 2 games that I already had in mint condition. So one of them was GoldenEye. This was my copy of GoldenEye, so I already had this. It's got the seal around it, but it's been opened this end, so it's not brand new and sealed. This is my original copy, but mark my words, the GoldenEye that came was equally as mint as this, absolutely flawless. It just didn't have the seal around it, as mint as the other games basically. And so I sold that on for a profit. I sold that for about 80 plus post, I think. So over double of what it cost. So that was just a win. And I know, you know, people argue, you know, reselling it's not nice and stuff like that. And obviously I don't like that guy who buys on CEX to resell. But obviously I bought that GoldenEye, you know, just, I'm not going to leave it, am I? And yeah, you could argue, why did I sell it on for a profit? But I was back collecting my set back then. So I, you know, bringing money back in was just, you know, a good shrewd way of doing business to help finance games that I still needed to buy. So, you know, I'm not going to feel guilty about flipping that. But yeah, basically it was as good as this without the seal on it, and I over doubled my money on that when I sold it on, and that's still arguably a good price. Micro Machines 64 Turbo. This was an upgrade for me. My existing copy weren't as nice, and this just absolutely mint. You can see the quality of these games. Like, some poor soul has basically traded these in, and they only got the standard prices for them, so these weren't even categorised as mint. So back then they didn't have with and without manual, but they certainly had boxed and then mint, and these weren't graded mint, even though they are mint. Like, they literally are mint. Star Wars Rogue Squadron, absolutely flawless as well. The majority of these, obviously, I kept for my collection. I was more than happy, and interestingly, I had pretty good copies already, like not exactly battered copies. So I ended up selling most of them for more than what these cost me, and typically more than what I paid for them as well. So I actually left this transaction with all these mint games and cash back. So it was absolutely win-win in every regard, and I'd made, you know, my friend really happy as well. So it was really good vibes all around. Quake, which is a notorious difficult one to get in good condition. This is a really fragile box. Probably one of the best versions you'll ever see without the shrink wrap seal on them. It's absolutely flawless. It looks like these have just been sat in a loft their whole life. Like, so they're so mint. They're just such good condition. Quake 2 as well. Absolutely amazing condition. The collector really looked after these, and it's an awful shame that they didn't get anywhere near what they were worth for these. 007 The World Is Not Enough. Now, obviously, I mentioned on my recent review of this and playthrough of Mission N64239 that this is one of my childhood games. What I actually did was bought this and just used the box as an upgrade to my original cart. I think I kept the manual as well, so I only kept my original cart from back in the day, and I sold on my old box and manual because I was not going to turn down the chance to have a really nice one. And given that I bought it second hand back in the day anyway, there's no real attachment to it as such, so I was happy to move that on. Now, this was my original copy of Zelda, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, but mark my words, the one that I picked up was equally as mint as this, and I basically sold that for a huge profit. So this cost about 40 quid in that Newton Abbey bundle, plus £2.95 postage. I think it might have even been £1.95 postage. It was before they increased the postage cost to £2.95. But I ended up selling the copy from Newton Abbey for £175, because literally it was as mint as this. It was absolutely like brand new. It was still sealed one end like this one. These earlier versions of it had two see-through sticker seals each end, and it was still sealed the left end like this one, and just sliced at the end like this. It was absolutely immaculate like this. So this is just here for reference. I had this before the transaction, but I basically bought the Ocarina of Time, and it was mint like this, and I sold it on for over 40, so over 4 times what it cost me. So that was great profit making on that to help finance other things, and yeah, really happy with that. And the last one was Mission Impossible, also one of my childhood games, but my original box went years ago, because back in the day some of my boxes got a lot of shelfware. They weren't the best looked after, some of them, and so this has got my original cartridge in, and the version I had before this was just my cart in an upgraded box. But so yeah, this has got my original cartridge in, but this is a box and manual upgrade from that Newton Abbey haul, and again, absolutely mint condition. So yeah, this is just one of those hauls that, you know, it's one to remember, and you know, things like this just don't happen very often. They really don't. 9 times out of 10, if you get a trade in like this, they're going to be taken by staff. If they're not taken by staff, they're taken by people in store watching them get traded in. And if they're not taken by people watching them get traded in, they're getting taken by people who are walking in and seeing this through the windows or doors or cabinets, whatever, and they're taken. Like, this is an unbelievable haul. And when you take into account what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the 10 games I've got here, plus my mate had a 6 or 7, yeah, that's a big, huge trade-in. And we were keeping an eye on that store for weeks, potentially months after, to see if they got big stock in again, but sadly that never came to be. But yeah, this is one to reflect on and remember with positive memories. And you know, it goes to show that, you know, luck can really happen at CEX if, you know, you're the right place at the right time, and you know, if you take a bit of a chance, really. You know, I've heard all sorts of good stories of people buying mint and they've got red strip sealed Nintendo games, Game Boy, N64. So, but yeah, I'm so out of touch with CEX now from that side of things. It's very rare that I buy a game that's not in stock and stuff like that. I've left that journey behind now, where you look at CEX often. Normally I'll just look at CEX to see if something's in or not, and if it's not, I move on. You know, I'm not one of the people who looks at CEX relentlessly like he used to. There's too many people doing it now. People are using software, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure of it, so it makes it a lot more difficult. But yeah, no, really pleased that that came in, and most of it is preserved in my collection now, so, you know, really happy with that, and it really helped a lot, and it actually brought cash back in to help me carry on my journey and stuff like that. So it's really, really great at the time to be in that place at that time. So that's it, guys. That's my mint CEX haul. That's one that I'm incredibly proud of. I don't think I'll ever better that, but yeah, really happy with it. It made a huge difference to my collection. And yeah, just wanted to show that these sort of things can happen. They are out there. CEX isn't all that bad if you think about it. You know, good things do happen there as well, and people are very happy a lot of the time, as well as people who are unhappy. And yeah, I just want to say, like, if you've enjoyed the video, please whack a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out. If you're new, please consider subscribing. Trying to build this place up. Trying to get more eyes on the channel, more people coming along for Mission N64239. Can I beat all 239 UK Power N64 games? I've completed 7 already. I'm going to get to work this week onto the 8th game, and hopefully by next weekend we can drop the next episode of Mission N64239, episode 8. I'm not going to tell you what the game is yet, but it'll be a surprise. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. For the eagle-eyed amongst you, you might have noticed that on the screenshots that I put that there was 2 extra game purchases that I didn't talk about. One was Perfect Dark, which was absolutely mint, and I just forgot to include it in the haul. I forgot to whip it off the shelf, which is annoying, but yeah, that was another purchase that was absolutely mint, and it was a box upgrade for me, and I was really happy with this. The other was Body Harvest, and that was really nice condition, probably near mint, except for the one end, there was like a huge rip up the end where someone had tried to open the box too aggressively, and it had ripped the cardboard because it's only thin, flimsy cardboard. I don't know if it was a CEX staff member or the original owner did it at some point. I had a sealed copy, brand new anyway at the time, and I've still got it, so it would have been sold on anyway. But yeah, I had to return the Body Harvest because it was ripped, and the Perfect Dark was a nice box mint upgrade for me. So in the end, from that whole haul, I had 10 minty upgrades and 2 games in GoldenEye and Legends of Zelda Ocarina of Time that I went on to sell for a profit. So all in all, a great haul. I made money, I got 10 upgrades. What a win. See you on the next one.